Somewhere along a frozen northern coastline, behind 3 layers of security fencing, past biometric checkpoints and armed patrols, there is a shipyard that does not appear on any public map. No satellite image has ever captured a clear view of its primary construction hall. No journalist has ever walked its floor without escort. The workers inside have signed documents most of us will never read, binding them to silence about what they build, how they build it, and why. This is the world's quietest shipyard, and the vessel taking shape inside it is one you are not supposed to see. What makes this facility remarkable is not its size, though it spans nearly 900 meters along the waterfront. It is not the workforce, though more than 4,000 engineers, welders, and technicians pass through its gates every day. What makes it remarkable is its purpose. Every surface, every process, every material choice inside this building has been engineered toward a single objective: to construct a warship so silent that the ocean itself cannot tell it is there. The vessel under construction carries no official public designation. Defense analysts have assigned it a provisional class name, but the program remains buried under layers of classification. What we do know, pieced together from procurement filings, patent applications, and the occasional statement from defense officials, paints a picture of something unprecedented. A next-generation attack submarine, displacing approximately 9,800 tons submerged, stretching 112 meters in length, designed to operate at depths exceeding 400 meters. A machine built not to fight loudly, but to vanish completely.
Standing at the entrance to the main assembly hall, the first thing you notice is not what you see.
It is what you hear, or rather, what you do not hear.
This is one of the largest enclosed construction spaces in the country, and yet it is quieter than most office buildings. The floor beneath my feet is layered with vibration-dampening material. Even the overhead cranes, massive units rated for 300 tons, glide on tracks that have been acoustically isolated from the superstructure. Every element of this building has been designed to support precision work at a level most industries never require.
To understand why this shipyard exists, you have to go back more than half a century. During the Cold War, the ocean became the most critical battlefield on Earth. Ballistic missile submarines patrolled beneath the Atlantic and Pacific, carrying enough nuclear warheads to end civilization several times over. The ability to detect those submarines, or to avoid detection, became the single most important technological race between East and West. Billions were spent. Entire scientific disciplines were born. And the lesson that emerged from those decades of competition was simple and brutal. In undersea warfare, silence is survival. The quieter your submarine, the longer it lives. The louder it is, the faster it dies. By the 1980s, Western navies had achieved a decisive acoustic advantage. Their submarines ran quieter than anything their adversaries could produce, and their sonar systems could detect threats at extraordinary ranges. But that advantage has been narrowing. Modern adversaries have invested heavily in quieting their own fleets. They have deployed advanced sonar networks across strategic waterways. They have built autonomous underwater vehicles designed to do nothing but listen. The margin of acoustic superiority that once defined naval dominance is thinner now than it has been in 40 years. This shipyard and the vessel inside it represent the answer to that closing gap.
I am standing next to a section of the outer hull, and what strikes me is the coating. It is not paint, it is a dense, rubbery material applied in tiles, each one approximately 40 centimeters square and about 17 millimeters thick. Engineers here call them anechoic tiles. Each tile contains thousands of tiny air pockets arranged in precise geometric patterns. Their job is to absorb incoming sonar pulses and prevent them from bouncing back to the sender. Essentially, these tiles make the submarine swallow sound. Up close, they feel almost organic, slightly soft, with a strange warmth to the touch. There are more than 12,000 of them on this single vessel.
The anechoic coating is only the outermost layer of a stealth architecture that extends deep into the vessel's structure. Beneath the tiles, the outer hull is constructed from high-yield steel alloy, milled to precise tolerances of less than 0.5 millimeter across plates that weigh several tons each. Inside the pressure hull, every piece of machinery capable of producing noise sits on a rafted deck, a platform suspended from the hull by pneumatic isolators that absorb vibration before it can reach the water. The main turbines, the auxiliary generators, the hydraulic systems for the control surfaces, all of them float on this internal raft, mechanically decoupled from the submarine's outer skin. The engineering term is double isolation mounting, and it reduces transmitted vibration by a factor of nearly 1,000. But noise is not the only signature this vessel must eliminate. Every warship generates a magnetic field, a byproduct of the steel in its hull and the electrical systems running inside it. That magnetic signature can be detected by specialized sensors laid along the seabed, by aircraft dropping magnetometers, or by enemy submarines carrying their own magnetic anomaly detection equipment. To counter this, the vessel incorporates a degaussing system, a network of electrical coils embedded throughout the hull that generate a precisely calibrated counterfield, effectively canceling the submarine's magnetic presence. The system adjusts continuously, compensating for changes in orientation, depth, and the Earth's local magnetic field strength. The target is a residual signature below 1 nanotesla at a distance of 50 meters. To put that in perspective, the magnetic field generated by a human heartbeat is stronger.
Inside the Control Systems Integration Lab, engineers are testing what they call the central nervous system of the submarine.
It is an automated combat management platform that fuses data from over 300 onboard sensors into a single real-time operational picture.
The screens here show simulated sonar contacts, environmental data, propulsion status, and weapons readiness, all updated simultaneously. One engineer told me that this system processes more data per second than the entire computing infrastructure of a 1980s aircraft carrier. The level of automation is staggering, and it is one reason the crew complement has been reduced to fewer than 50 sailors for a vessel of this size. Fewer than 50 sailors for a vessel of this size.
When the propulsion system represents perhaps the most significant leap. Unlike conventional nuclear submarines that use a reactor to generate steam, which drives a mechanical turbine, which turns a geared shaft connected to a propeller, this vessel employs a turboelectric drive. The reactor, a compact pressurized water design, generating approximately 190 megawatts of thermal energy, produces steam that drives a turbine generator. That generator converts mechanical energy into electricity, which is then fed to a permanent magnet synchronous motor mounted directly on the propulsion shaft. There are no reduction gears, no mechanical linkage between the reactor plant and the propulsor. Gears are among the loudest components inside a conventional submarine, and eliminating them removes an entire category of noise from the vessel's acoustic signature. The propulsor itself is not a traditional propeller. It is a shrouded pump jet, a ring of stator vanes surrounding a multi-bladed rotor enclosed within a hydrodynamic duct. Pump jets are inherently quieter than open propellers because they reduce cavitation, the formation and collapse of tiny vapor bubbles that produce broadband noise detectable at long range. At patrol speeds below 8 knots, This vessel's radiated noise level is projected to fall below the ambient noise of the ocean itself. The submarine does not just become quiet, it becomes part of the background.
There is something surreal about walking along the dry dock floor and looking up at this machine. The hull sections are joined with a precision that seems almost impossible at this scale. I asked one of the senior welders how he ensures consistency across joints that span several meters. It's about calibrating your touch and keeping the speed steady. And he told me that every single weld is inspected by X-ray and ultrasonic imaging before the section moves to the next stage. A single defect, even one smaller than a grain of rice, means the weld is ground out and redone. He has been doing this for 22 years. He told me he has never worked on anything where the margin for error was this small.
The construction follows a modular philosophy. The submarine is built in 11 major sections, each assembled in a separate bay of the facility, outfitted with internal systems, like wiring, piping, and equipment, before being transported to the main assembly hall for integration. This approach compresses the build timeline significantly. Work that would take 12 years using traditional sequential construction methods is completed in approximately 7. But it demands extraordinary coordination. Every section must align within fractions of a millimeter when joined. Every cable run, every pipe weld, every equipment mount must match across module boundaries. The logistics alone require a dedicated planning team of over 200 people working in 3 shifts. The financial scale is equally immense. Current estimates place the per-unit cost of this class at approximately $5.4 billion, making it one of the most expensive individual military assets ever constructed. The total program cost, covering design, testing, shore infrastructure, and a planned fleet of 8 vessels, is projected to exceed $50 billion across 2 decades. These numbers carry enormous political weight. A single significant failure, a structural defect, a propulsion malfunction, a cost overrun that spirals beyond control, could jeopardize the entire program and with it, a nation's undersea deterrence strategy for a generation. The human cost is less visible, but no less real. Engineers working on classified defense programs operate under psychological pressures that few outside the industry understand. They cannot discuss their work with family or friends. They undergo periodic security reinvestigations. Their digital communications are monitored. Many spend years, sometimes a decade or more, on a single program, pouring their professional lives into a machine they may never be publicly credited for building. The turnover rate in programs like this is notably low, not because the work is easy, but because the people who choose it tend to be driven by something beyond career advancement. They believe in the mission.
Today is a significant day here. The first complete hull assembly has been moved into the flooding basin, the final enclosed space.
Status update on the water level. Water level is rising steadily. We are within parameters. Good. Continue monitoring the pressure.
Engineers are running final checks on the ballast systems, verifying hull integrity sensors, and confirming alignment of the propulsion shaft.
Status check on hull plate 9.
Stable. Checking pressure valves. The silence feels intentional, almost ceremonial.
The initial flooding takes 11 hours. Water enters the basin at a controlled rate, rising around the hull in carefully monitored stages. Sensors embedded throughout the structure transmit continuous data on stress distribution, seal integrity, and thermal response. When the vessel finally lifts free of its support cradle and floats for the first time, the moment is marked not by applause, but by a quiet confirmation over the internal communication system. Positive buoyancy achieved, all readings nominal. Years of engineering, the billions of dollars, and the collective effort of thousands of people distilled into a single measured sentence. But the true test comes later, far from the shipyard, in deep water. The submarine descends to operating depth and enters its first acoustic trial. Hydrophone arrays positioned at calculated intervals around the test range listen for any detectable sound. The propulsion system engages. The vessel moves through the water at patrol speed. Inside the test monitoring facility on shore, analysts watch their displays for any trace of the submarine's presence. The readings hover at the threshold of ambient ocean noise. At 7 knots, the vessel's radiated signature measures less than 90 decibels at 1 meter, quieter than a dolphin at cruising speed. At certain frequencies, the submarine is indistinguishable from the thermal noise of the sea itself. The analysts verify their instruments. They run the measurements again. The results hold. What this means for the future of naval warfare is difficult to overstate. A submarine that cannot be reliably detected by existing sonar technology fundamentally changes the strategic calculus of every major naval power on Earth. It can patrol contested waters undetected for months. It can hold critical shipping lanes at risk without revealing its position. It can deliver conventional or strategic weapons from locations an adversary cannot anticipate and may never confirm. It is not simply a weapon. It is a persistent, invisible alteration of the balance of power beneath the surface of the ocean. This is the product of a shipyard built for silence and staffed by people who will never seek recognition, funded by a nation that understands a single truth about modern warfare. The most powerful force in the ocean is the one you never know is there.